We did median, we did means, now we're going to do mode. So mode is not quite a measure of center, but we treat it like one. But what a mode is, it's a value that is sometimes classified as a measure of center, and a value that is sometimes classified as a measure of center is the mode. The mode of a data set is the value that appears most frequently. So if two or more values are tied for the being most frequent, then they're all considered to be the modes. So if you have two values that repeat the same number of times, and it's more than everything else, then you did with multiple modes. If the values all have the same frequency, then we say the data has no mode. In that case, you have a uniform distribution. For example, 10 students were asked how many siblings they had. The results arranged in order were 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 6. We want to find the mode of this data set. So what you're going to look for, or it tells you this here, but we see we only get 0 one time. The 2 appears 4 times, or sorry, the 1 appears 4 times, the 2 appears 2 times, and the 3 appears 2 times. So the one that we consider to be the mode would be this one, because that's the one that's most frequent. So it has to be the one that appears the most. So we were saying that mode is kind of a measure of center. If you take a look at this data, like this mode is sort of at one end of the data. Like a distribution of this is going to look like this. Your mode is like not exactly in the center, it's sort of a little off center, which we saw that some of our modes were kind of like that, or our measures of center, like mean gets pulled off of center sometimes. So expounding on that, the mode is classified as a measure of center. However, this isn't accurate. The mode can be the largest value in the data set, or the smallest, or anywhere in between. So in this case, what we see is that this is my data's distribution. So somewhere around here is the center. Oops, didn't grab my tool. So my center should be like over here. But we see that mode is over here, not exactly in the center of the data. So like I said, they're classified as a measure of center, but they're not a really great measure of center. However, this is where we get modalities from, because this distribution has a big bump right there. So at that mode is where that big bump happens. Okay. Means and medians can be computed only for qualitative data. The mode, however, this one can be used in qualitative or quantitative data, because all it is the most frequent thing we have. So the following is just a list of the makes of all cars rented in an automobile rental company on a particular day. We want to know which car is the mode. Well, if you go through here, we see we got Hondas. And we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3 Hondas. That's probably not my most frequent. We got Chevys. 1, 2, 3, 4 Chevys. We have a Toyota. Oh, I miss my Toyota. Those are good cars. But anyways, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Toyotas. We got Nissans. We look at my Nissans. I have 1, 2 Nissans. We got a Dodge. Looks like just 1 Dodge. And then there's Ford. When we count the Ford, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So in this case, we can have a mode. The mode would be that Toyota. Like I said, with qualitative data, we would not have a mean or a median, because those come from calculations of your variable, and my variable happens to be cars. However, since mode, all it is just your most frequent data point, there can be a mode in quantitative data and in qualitative data like this. So take a moment and go over that data again of the US presidents and their ages. We found the median, We found the mean. This time we're just going to find the mode and decide, do we think it actually looks like a measure center? Is it in the center of my data? Okay. So I went through and I kind of looked at all my frequencies of each number. And what we see here is looks like this may be the most frequent in this too. So 51 and 54, that age appears both 5 times, and it's the most common of all the ages. Next is that would be 57 and 61, which are at 4. So our mode, we have two modes, would actually be the age of 51 and the age of 64. And do we think this looks like it's a good sender to our data? I mean, for the most part, if you're kind of do a distribution of it, it's like low here. It peaks a little bit around the 50s area, and then it's in a little bit into the 60s, and then it starts to really taper off towards the end. It's pretty close to where that center of the data is. And if you remember, this is close to what our means and medians was. The mean, I think, believe is 55.4. So this is really, really close to that center. So in this case, I'd say it's a good measure of center. I mean, not the best, but it's a good measure of center.